Okay, welcome back. To get the magazine ready for the new motor that it takes to do 4K, you need to do a couple of things. After you've gotten your bracket out, motor off, gears off, everything, you need to drill out this larger hole to 13/32, and then the smaller hole to 5/32, because if you don't drill, that just allows the motor, the shoulder of it, to fit through that hole, and then you drill this hole out because your screw won't get in the mounting hole on the motor if you don't. And for the housing, you've got these bosses right there on both sides. There's another one. And with the bigger motor in there, I'll have one. Well, hang on just a minute. I've got a bad one. All right. Yeah, see? You have to drill it out so it'll go in there. And see, it goes over your shoulder now. But anyway, what I was talking about, these bosses, they come out further. They come out about that far. And when you go to put your motor in, if you don't grind them up from, say, back here to the width of this bracket, what's going to happen is it's going to protrude beyond that where you didn't remove that material, and it's going to hit on the shoulder of that motor, and it won't be able to fit in there. So you just grind it down so the bracket's still touching, but the material behind it has been removed to make way for that motor. And that's about all you have to do. Oh yeah, the other thing, when you start putting these fast motors in here, this part, what it does is it hits on a shaker. It goes in here. These little cogs strike that shaker as it goes around. But when you bump it up to, say, 9,000 RPMs coming out of this motor, it flies around there so fast that shaker is just going nuts, and it's kicking BBs all over the place. So what we're going to do is grind these almost completely down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and I'll be right back to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, we got that done, and I forgot to take a before picture, but I did realize that. So what I did was I just ground one of them all the way down and then took a picture to kind of give you a before and after. So here's that shot. Also, when you do this, it really quiets your gun. So, Cam Racer suggested that I do this back when I was, trying to get 4K at 100%, and I was using no BB shaker at the time, and I had some success. I was able to do 100 at 100%, but it's just a lot more reliable if you have something shaking it, just barely. But yeah, it makes it a lot quieter. Okay, got some more motors in today, and for comparison, size comparison, the stock and the new motor. The shaft is a little bit larger in diameter on the bigger motor. And you can use the original pinion gear. You just pop it off with a fork or something like that. And there's a little flat spot on it that corresponds with a flat spot on the shaft, and it doesn't go all the way through it, but you need to grind that down first if you're going to use the stock pinion gear. And you just grind it down from this side with, say, like a diamond needlepoint bit or something like that. And once you've got the hole just right in there, then you need to drill it out. I can't remember what size bit it is to make it be able to accept this 2.3 millimeter shaft. You just have to be careful and remove that first, that little flat spot, or else if you try to just drill right through it, your bit's going to go off sideways and your pinion gear is not going to be worth anything. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and solder this up and go ahead and put a flat spot on the shaft for that little set screw. It'll be right back. Alright, we've got the motor assembly all put together. You're going to want to put Loctite on your mounting screws and on the set screw on the pinion gear, and bend your motor tabs down when you do this, because you could run into some space issues inside the housing. And these motors have a red dot on the terminal that you want to be your positive, and that's the one with the white wire. So now we're just going to put everything back together, and probably going to have to take this apart and adjust this clutch. Could be several times. Basically how I do the alignment is with the valve out of it. I just put it in the gun and look down the barrel, and I can see if it's in there, because you can see right through the valve body now. So that tells me if it needs to go up. And when they're brand new like this, they're usually pretty tight and pretty right on. So what I'll do is I'll tape it and then mark where I want to put my holes, drill it, and then just lock it down basically where it is, maybe a little bit under there, and see if it goes in nice and snug. So I'll do that now. Okay, now we've got our latch plate installed, and there's no vertical movement. It just locks in there just as pretty as you please. And the reason we do this is because if you don't, you have your latch, which is metal, on this polymer, and eventually over time, putting it in and taking it out, the polymer on your magazine is going to wear up, and that's going to cause your magazine to sit lower, and that's going to throw you out of alignment. And what will eventually happen is if your valve body's lower than your barrel, you're going to be going into that breech, hitting the bottom of it, and what that does is it kind of just plows up the metal in the breech, and over time you'll eventually plow up enough metal to where you can't get BBs to pass. So we're just going to go ahead and test this to see if we have any leaks. Oftentimes after you do the valve polishing, the first time, or maybe even a couple of times later, you'll hear it hiss, but most of the time what that is it's just reseating itself. So we'll see if it seals, and if it does hiss, you can just open it wide open and it'll usually seal it right up. See? So we are good to go.